Hello, this is Anjali and welcome you all to our show Desh Ke Mudde. Well, this is all about the burning issues of India. And today our topic in discussion is, should internet be censored or not? Well, some are slamming it as violation of freedom of speech, while others are saying that it should be regulated immediately. There are certain IT rules existing in our society right now, but are they sufficient enough? And if they are, then why there is discussion on the censorship? And before we start the discussion, let me introduce our panel to you. In our panel today, we have Ms. Mishi Choudhary, who is Executive Director of SFLC. Then we have Mr. Prakash, who is Program Manager of CIS. And also we have Dr. Arvind Gupta, who is BJP's National Convener of IT Cell. So Mishi, my first question goes to you. What are IT rules 2011 and aren't they sufficient enough? That's why are we discussing this now?
In April 2011, the government came up with something called the intermediary guideline rules. These are being termed as the IT rules. Intermediaries are the platforms or the websites, etc., which make it possible for us to access the internet. These could be internet service providers, it could be telecom service providers like the Airtels and the Tatas of the world. It also includes search engines like Google, social networking sites like Twitter and Facebook, etc. These are the various platforms which are the link between a user and the internet, which give you an access. These are all termed as intermediaries. There are some other entities also which are included in the definition, but this is mostly it. Now the government said that in order to control what is online, these are the intermediaries who have to follow certain due diligence process. So what ends up happening is if you and I put up something online, maybe on our Facebook page, then if I do something illegal, I should be responsible for it. But the government says the way to control this is that Facebook should also have some responsibility. So if Facebook has to have some responsibility, Facebook goes on to say, well, it's a third-party generated content. I created it. Facebook did not know anything about it. Yes, it's on its platform, but it's only a platform. What can it do? And if I am supposed to be taken to court, one of the defenses, Facebook should not be taken to court. And the Facebook said that why should I be dragged to court for this? The government said if you want some protection, the safe harbor protection, then you will have to follow certain rules. These are the rules which are the IT rules. All this starts actually much earlier through the Avnish Bajaj case, where there is a recognition by the legislature that these businesses have to be protected. If they will be taken to task or dragged to courts for everything which is done by someone else, there would be a problem. So that's where the start of the IT rules happens. This is in brief what the IT rules are about.
And if I may add to that, the safe to exercise the safe harbor, the intermediaries, as Mishi described it, need to respond within 36 hours. That are the current rules.
Yes.
And if they bring down the objectionable content, then they can exercise the provisions of safe harbor, and that means that there is no liability on them. तो अगर कोई आदमी ऑब्जेक्ट करता है और उसके अंदर कोई भी इंटरमीडिएटरी, चाहे फेसबुक है, गूगल है, यूट्यूब है, वो 36 घंटे के अंदर उसको कंटेंट को डाउन कर देती है या उसको हटा देती है अपनी वेबसाइट से, तो फेसबुक या गूगल या कोई भी सोशल मीडिया, इंटरनेट जो इंटरमीडिएटरी हैं जिसको डिस्क्राइब किया गया, उनके ऊपर कोई केस नहीं बन सकता. वो एक सेफ हार्बर प्रोटेक्शन में आ जाते हैं. लेकिन अब इस पे चर्चा होगी, आई गेस, एंड देयर विल बी अ लॉट ऑफ डिस्कशन दैट what is objectionable and what is not and who decides it. And I mean, I think that is open to discussion, but because your question was what is IT rules, the IT rules are this.
So I'll add 2 points to that. One, because an intermediary does not have liability if it removes it within 36 hours, so all intermediaries will remove things within 36 hours, even if it is not objectionable, just to be on the safe side. Now that creates a problem, and we've actually tested this out, and I'll talk about that a bit later. The second thing is that going after the intermediary for offensive content that has been put up by someone else is, for instance, like going after an electricity company which has a pole on which people are sticking flyers. Okay, because the flyer is offensive, so you go after the electricity company,
or going after the CEO of Airtel just because somebody sends an offensive SMS. I mean,
and this has actually
or
happened.
shoot the postman because he brought you bad news.
Exactly. So these are the IT rules that are already there, that exist. But still, why do we have need to discuss this issue, whether internet should be censored or not? Why do we still need it?
When these rules came, we realized what these rules actually meant. As Pranesh said, that most of the intermediaries would actually be tempted to remove anything which anybody objects because nobody wants to take the liability. Then we saw that the chilling effect this will have. Then a lot of organizations, including the industry, the civil society, and various other stakeholders made their opinion known to the government. However, because it's...
But this was post the rules being made public.
The rules were only even before, when there was a public consultation supposed to happen. When a draft was come out, we all submitted our comments. And there were certain changes which were made, but then also what came out, which are the final notified rules on the Gazette, they also did not go to the extent of actually taking care of the chilling effect these would have had.
And the changes that were made were actually worse, because earlier the person who could complain to one of these companies would be someone that the government authorized. But now that was in the draft stage. But in the final version of the rules that finally are in effect, it became that anyone could get stuff removed from any website. And so what was earlier a narrow provision now has suddenly become very wide. What earlier you could file RTIs and find out which government department sent how many takedown requests, etc. Now there is no way of finding out. Now anyone can do it. So even the government doesn't know, for instance, since April of last year, how many times these rules have been used.
That means actually that the rules, still the parliament has the power to do away with the rules and instruct the executive who's responsible for coming with the rules. क्या होता है कि एक एक्ट होता है, उसके अंदर कुछ रूल्स बनाने की पावर एग्जीक्यूटिव को दे दी जाती है. एक्ट तो लेजिस्लेशन बना देता है, पार्लियामेंट ने बना दिया और कहा कि इस एक्ट को कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट किया जाएगा ये पार एग्जीक्यूटिव बनाएगा. DIT जो इस समय गवर्नमेंट है या DIT जो डिपार्टमेंट है उन्होंने बनाया. अब वो कैसे करेंगे ये काम, ये रूल्स के अंडर आता है. लेकिन पार्लियामेंट के पास सबॉर्डिनेट लेजिस्लेशन जिसको कहते हैं, इन रूल्स को डिस्कस करने की पावर कुछ हद तक होती है. वो पावर इस सेशन के बाद ख़त्म हो जाएगी. अगर मई 22 को जो ये सेशन ख़त्म हो जाता है उसमें ये रूल्स डिस्कस नहीं होते हैं तो उसके बाद वो रूल्स नोटिफिकेशन फाइनलाइज हो जाता है. सिर्फ एक ही तरीका है, फिर उसके बाद आप कोर्ट जा सकते हैं इन रूल्स को चैलेंज करने का. तो ये रूल्स इसलिए अभी डिस्कस हो रहे हैं क्योंकि पार्लियामेंट के पास इस सेशन तक समय है इन रूल्स के ऊपर कुछ भी कहने का, कुछ भी विचार प्रकट करने का. इसलिए ये आज भी डिस्कशन में है.
And I think there is a motion that some honorable member of parliament has moved, Mr. Rajiv, yes. And that is the reason this has become a topic of discussion. And it is it is only has a expiry date of May 22nd. So either they become permanent rules or they need to be modified or annulled or whatever the right thing is in this session. And then the parliament needs to instruct the executive whether they need to take these rules forward or modify them or annul them so that better rules or the right rules can be formed. So that is the reason the debate is very, very current. And
okay, Mr. Gupta, as you pointed out that there is a time span of 36 hours for the content to be taken off from that site, right? So why this time span is so long? I mean, by these 36 hours, the damage would have already been done by then.
So what you're asking, there are two things. So one is the time window. The time window can be debated whether it's 36 hours or 48 hours, whether it is long or not long, or so that's one part of it. But the real issue is what is wrong content, what is objectionable content, and the rules make it so wide that any content is objectionable today. If I don't like somebody's tone of voice, if I don't like somebody writing a bad review about my hotel, or somebody leaving a comment in political satire, that's all defamatory and objectionable. And because of that, the individual which I personally believe is a good thing. The individual complaining is a good empowerment of the individual. There is nothing wrong in that, as long as there is a dispute resolution authority in between. Right now they've taken, there is no provision for that. What they have is that if I don't like a content, fair, I straight away object to the intermediary, and the intermediary either decides to take it down or don't take it down. And as Pranesh rightly said, they have done some experiments. Most of the intermediaries, to keep themselves safe, they take down the content without understanding what is objectionable and what is not. And that is true. How will an intermediary sitting outside India or wherever in the world decide what is, or even north and south or east and west, decide what is objectionable in a local context? It's impossible. So to be safe, they just take down everything.
There are 3 points here. First is that what was earlier a judicial role, the role of the judiciary or somebody else who knew what the law of the land was, would decide what can a public read or not, or what can be censored or not. Now these rules say a private party, which is the intermediary, will decide. Google will decide whether something is infringing on a patent or not, whether something is objectionable or not. Second thing is these definitions, what is not permitted on the net is very wide, not only wide and not defined, but they are nowhere to be found in the Indian law. Some things, blasphemy. आप पाकिस्तान में कहें अगर अल्लाह नहीं है तो ब्लास्फेमी है, भगवान नहीं है तो ब्लास्फेमी है, आपको जेल में डाला जा सकता है. हिंदुस्तान में ऐसा कोई लॉ नहीं है. Incitement of communal violence and religious offences, yes, recognized 292 CRPC, IPC, there's some other sections also. पर इंडिया में कोई आपको जेल में नहीं डाल सकता कि आप कहीं भगवान नहीं है. So blasphemy, we do not know what blasphemy is. We do not know what harms minors in some way. सिगरेट की एक्ट भी माइनर को हार्म करता है. क्या उसको हटा दिया जाएगा? क्या गवर्नमेंट ITC की वेबसाइट हटा देगी क्या? That is the second point. The third point, what happens is government already has rules in existence which are very detailed, because government knew that the international standards require that if ever, we are the biggest beneficiaries of globalizations as India, and if we are going to be the citizens of the globalized connected world in the 21st century, then the government also recognize how good this is for business. That's why if there's a blocking of a website has to happen, if government thinks this is wrong, I'm going to block this website, there is an entire very good exhaustive rules which have all safeguards built in under 69A of the same act. पर ये एक बैकडोर सेंसरशिप है. जो चीज़ आप 69A में कवर नहीं कर पाए क्योंकि उसमें बहुत सेफ गार्ड्स हैं, आपको जॉइंट सेक्रेटरी से परमिशन लेनी पड़ेगी. जैसे सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि अगर फ़ोन को टैप करना है तो ये सब फॉलो कीजिए. Then the government is doing a right thing. We are saying there's already something in existence. Why don't you use them? And if you want something else, then it should be as exhaustive. And all the safeguards which are built in there, they should also be there. Pranesh will tell you because they've done actual work on it and they have real life examples of how bad this can be.
Well, Pranesh, I would like to ask you that who will decide what is offensive, what is not, what is objectionable to society and what is not? Who will decide it?
The problem becomes, even if there's a clear definition that is laid down for different kinds of objectionable content, we all know that a definition is only as good as its interpretation. So if the person who's interpreting the definition is a private party who has no no kind of judicial training, does not know how to interpret legal provisions, does not, for instance, have any interest in that speech itself, because these companies, they don't really care about whether what you've said actually remains up on the internet or not. They don't really care about whether it's legal or not. So apart from whether there's a clear definition, which currently doesn't exist, the second question becomes who actually gets to decide on that definition. I'll give a few examples. So in order to test out these rules, and because there is no central authority which we can find out any kind of statistics about the usage of these rules, how many things have been removed, etc., we decided to do a small policy sting operation. So a researcher sitting at the Center for Internet and Society sent down multiple requests to different kinds of intermediaries, some to, for instance, search engines, some to a news portal, some to online auction website. Okay, and decided to see what would be removed or not. Each and every one of these requests was frivolous, was fake, was wrong, and ideally the intermediary should have gotten back to us saying that this is not a proper request, we are not going to comply with it. But in 6 out of 7 cases, these intermediaries complied. Not only did they comply, in some cases they even removed stuff we didn't ask them to remove because they wanted to be safe. I'll give you a few examples. So, to a news portal, on an article about Telangana, okay, someone had left a very politically astute, very interesting comment, which was not in the least objectionable. We wrote into the intermediary saying that this is racially and ethnically objectionable, that this this is harmful for national security, and this and that. Now, of course it wasn't. If you read the comment, you would see that this is completely false. Yet, the intermediary not only removed that one comment which we complained about, they removed all the 15 comments that were there on that page just to play safe. Okay. Now, the person who left this comment had no idea that what he had put up had actually been removed, because under the rules, very unfortunately, what we lawyers call principles of natural justice, that is, that the other side must also be heard in any kind of dispute, that is completely gone. And along with that, all protections under the Constitution of India for freedom of speech is also gone, because the person who's actually speaking is not even given a chance to defend that speech anymore. Okay, and that, as Mishi pointed out, is one of the things that is crucially required. And as Arvind ji pointed out, if there was a better mechanism of hearing out a party in a neutral manner, then that would be provided for.
And I just want to add to that. The simple point is that in a comment on a existing article on a news site, sometimes a lot of people leave anonymous comments. But if you take that example further, on a website, a web service hosting company can bring down a whole website, or a domain provider can bring down a whole website, and not even put a banner saying this website has been put down because of a contentious issue or because of objectionable content. Even that is not there. They will just bring down the website, and then their liability is gone. So there is no principle of natural justice in doing all this.
And even in countries such as Iran and Kuwait and other places, when they remove something from the internet, they tell you that this has been removed. If this has been wrongly removed, then please complain to this authority. Okay, and even that isn't there right now.
Well, we are discussing about the objectionable content, and Mishi, there is a question from a viewer of ours. He asked from Twitter. His name is Mr. Suresh Nakwa. He wants to know who is going to decide whether some page is hurting sensibilities or it's sarcasm, because one thing that can be objectionable to me can be sarcastic to you.
Private parties. That's the responsibility of who the complaint will go to. If you complain to Facebook, Facebook is supposed to decide.
In the current mechanism.
In the current mechanism. Which we think is just not called for. A private party deciding what is objectionable, what is blasphemous, even deciding whether something is infringing a patent.
I always sarcastically say that this is maybe a scheme by the government to generate employment. So
yeah, well, China employs, you're right, 50,000 people just to monitor online. He may be Dr. Gupta is correct. That must be a way.
Could be a way to do that.
So, Mishi, we are talking about China and Pak here. So, are you going to join their league? I mean, they have already censored some sites, and even Pakistan. There is a list of words that should not be sent on SMSs. So, are we going to join their club?
Well, India prides itself and distinguishes itself from China, saying that we are a democracy and we have freedom of speech and expression. All we are saying is that we are not asking for anything more. We are asking is whatever the freedom of speech and expression we have so far, just let us have the same thing. But yes, if your question is whether these rules are going to put us closer to this side of the spectrum where there's more censorship. That is true. In fact, Reporters Without Borders, which is RSF Sans Frontières, is a France-based organization which also monitors what the state of the censorship in different countries are, and India's position has changed now. Now we are next to Kazakhstan also. So we're now, as we move, as Pranesh said, even in Iran or Kuwait or such countries, yes, you have probably a right to heard. I do not know how good that right to be heard is, but at least that right to be heard is there also. But one thing which is happening in these rules is that the government is not doing them directly on the face. This is the backdoor censorship, why we say, because I think the government realizes we have extremely well-informed people in the government who know this thing technically as well as legally very well, and they're not doing anything through the government channels, because as I said, through the government channels it requires a proper procedure. Now the private parties are being burdened with this responsibility, and if you don't do this, then you're going to be hauled into courts. And the problem is that the law recognizes that you cannot hold these parties responsible, otherwise they will not be able to run their businesses. Also, people will not be able to access the internet as we know it. So to say, we are not asking that child pornography should be allowed, hate speech should be allowed, or the things which are already prohibited in the constitution. You cannot say anything which is against national integrity or security. You cannot say anything against friendly relations with the state. We are not asking for an American right to speak. We are only asking the Indian right to speak as per the Indian law.
Within the Indian context also.
Yes, within the Indian context.
The sensibility is within India. I mean, something legal and something from a social sensibility also.
It's from Mr. Ratnakar Sadasulya, whose ID is at Scorpius Maximus, and he wants to know, we live in an age where people use proxies to see blocked sites at workplace. How do you propose to block sites fully? And his next question is, there are 1 million tweets and status updates on FB per day. How do you propose to go through each and every of them?
First of all, not we, the government. Okay, the government is the way it's suggesting is right now. I'll answer it in two ways. Is number one, they're suggesting that all this mechanism of taking down the content or whenever a person complains, that will be the trigger, will be the responsibility of the Twitter or the Facebook or whatever else it is. I also feel that the government doesn't understand how the social networks or the internet works actually, and I'm being very frank in that. Because last year, even though that was an aborted attempt, they wanted to do a pre-censorship. They wanted to, say, censor everything before it's being put on. I think the government doesn't understand this whole environment. They're reacting to a media that they have not understood even 10%. Now, how do they propose? I think it's an employment scam. I think they want to just generate employment. There is no other way of doing it. There is just no way of doing it. So, I've said that in the past, and I mean, you can't expect a Facebook or any site, Twitter, Facebook, blogs, Blogspot, YouTube, to censor and keep monitoring what is correct and what is not correct. So, and that too, somebody sitting in Philippines or a US or Ireland does not know what is objectionable or not objectionable in India. See, the government, I think, and I can tell you something, and this is my belief, that by doing this, the government is trying to protect its political masters. And that is evident from the fact that 355 of the 355 takedown notices or whatever were under the RTI that we realized, about 250 and 260 were pertaining to a political satire. And those things were specifically instructed to be brought down. So, we know what the government is aiming at. I would like to know from the government how many seditious sites they have brought down, how many sites which promote child pornography or online gambling or betting they have brought down. And the result will come close to zero actually. They've not handled the problem. Can they justify that they have brought down 100 things of national security or seditious in nature or pornographic in nature? No, none. They have not done that.
I'll give one example about that. In December, this website called cartoonsagainstcorruption.com was brought down
a same site,
by the police.
Mumbai.
This is a site belonging to a cartoonist called Asim Trivedi. Now, as you rightly pointed out, this wasn't down for very long, because now it is available as cartoonsagainstcorruption.blogspot.in. Okay, but cartoonsagainstcorruption.com was brought down without even letting him know. He found out only when he tried to access his website and couldn't get onto it. Okay, so this is the state of affairs right now.
So also, I personally believe that there is so much of viral effect in this. There is so much of the social aspect, the viral and the social aspect to it, that you bring down one video, and the moment you bring down more a video, it actually becomes more viral. People want to see it a lot more.
Yeah.
And some unknown identities and people all over the world are trying to upload it. So, I personally feel there's a better way. There should be a better way of handling this. This is not the way.
It's called the Streisand effect. Barbara Streisand tried to take down pictures of her house.
Absolutely.
When you try to remove something, everybody wants to watch
Everyone wants to
it.
see it. So,
And in India, I think it's being called the Mamata effect.
I like that.
Well, we would like to know, government is raising this issue now. So are they actually concerned, or is it political censorship?
The government is not raising the issues. The government has made the rules. The rules are there. We are raising the issue that it should be taken up in the
Yes.
the parliament is discussing it, so we should think about it.
Exactly.
And it's a request to the parliamentarians to think about it so that they understand the gravity of the issue here. The government has made the rules. The rules are out there. They're actually
Being used.
Yeah,
Yes.
They're
being
enforced.
They're
They're
enforced.
enforced. The rules are in place. And actually, as Mishi very rightly explained, that there is an expiry date till when we can either annul these rules or debate these rules or change them. May 22nd. I mean, if this session of parliament passes,
The discussion is coming up on May 11th, this Friday. The Business Advisory Committee has given 2 hours when Shri P. Rajiv, as Dr. Gupta was pointing out, who's the parliamentarian who's moved the motion, he's asking not for an amendment. He's saying all these rules should be scrapped right now, but he's not saying there should be no regulation. He's saying let's go back to the drawing board, discuss, let's get industry, political parties, civil society, and every other person who's going to be involved in the implementation this, who's also concerned about the free speech aspects of it. Let's get together and come up with rules which are transparent, which are proportional and workable. They can be actually used and not just abused all the time. That's the motion.
The key thing that I think Mishi mentioned, and very correctly, is transparent also. See, the thing is, we believe there is a lot of lack of transparency in the working of the government right now. And that's why there is a lot of knee-jerk reactions, backdoor reactions to curtail freedom of speech, free speech, political satire, and we've seen many examples of this in the recent months and over the last 1 year.
Okay, Pranesh, next question goes to you from a Twitter user. It's Mr. Jamin Panchal, and he wants to know, will the uploader or writer get the chance to explain his position on his article or video or pic before being taken off on a complaint?
So as things stand, according to the April 2011 IT rules, no, they won't. Because it says that the intermediary may consult them, but it doesn't require them to consult the uploader. And in all the cases that we tried out with these fake complaints, not a single uploader came back to us saying, why are you asking for this to be removed? This is perfectly fine. No one did. So no one was even told.
Mr. Gupta, next question also goes to you. It's from, again, Jamin Panchal. He wants to know priorities for acting against expression. I mean, he's talking about a video that has been taken off, but there are still some obscene video there on the internet. So basically, he's talking about selective censorship. So is there any selective censorship by the government?
Yeah, so I mean, I totally agree. It's selective censorship going on right now. What they want to censor which does not suit them is being suit them politically is being censored. What does not suit the country is being ignored. I mean, we should be looking at the country and what is not in the interest of the country, and that is what should be brought out. We cannot take down people's right to complain or do political satire, which is as long as that's legal and in the right sense, and that is all part of the free and democratic system that we have. So the government is definitely doing a lot of selective censorship, and I think all the examples point to that, and the data points to that. One thing I think that we should point out, and I should point out very clearly, is that with the current the pre-existing rules from before April 2011, one could actually use the RTI mechanism to understand what are the sites that the government has requested to be brought down. But with the current state, when a user complains directly to an intermediary, there will be no data available. There is no data available, because Google's or the social medias or the all the other internet intermediaries don't come under RTI. So there is absolutely no data available who is bringing down what site. So it's become a very censored society, and in that sense, and it's a safe thing for them to bring down the content.
Well, internet is scary for every authority. Everybody gets scared because today every person, this is the democracy which actually the Greeks dreamt of, or the Swiss practice. This is direct democracy in its face. It's never been that any person on the street or the middle class educated person had a way to express their opinions. It's scary. It's scary for any authority.
And I always say this, and to add to what just Mishi said, the internet, and this is what the government doesn't understand, every person is now a media house. I have a YouTube channel, I'm a media house. I write a blog, I'm a writer, I'm a publisher. So, because of this, the power is really gone. The democratic power has gone to the individuals that we always thought of. And that is what I think the government is not able to understand and react to, and make proper rules and regulations around it. And nobody is saying that you should not regulate the social media or internet, because we are all agreeing on that. There is certain content that needs to be, it's anti-India, anti-national.
And there are already laws that cover
that. And
there are laws in the IPC that say what kind of speech is legal and what kind of speech is illegal. There are already lots of sections of the Information Technology Act, for instance, that ban obscenity, that ban things which cyber terrorism, which ban child pornography, etc. So all these laws already exist. There is no need for a new one. Now, what is needed, on the other hand, and what the government has not done, is things such as saying when a complaint is sent to an intermediary, they will report it to a website, okay, so that it's transparent. Any kind of censorship should also be transparent, so that you know that censorship is taking place, and you as society at large can judge whether that is correct or not. So, to give an example, there is a website that is run by many folks, including and started out of Harvard, okay, called chillingeffects.org. That so every request that Twitter receives for something to be removed, they send also to chillingeffects.org, so that you can see the original complaint. They remove the complainant's name, but you can see what has been complained about. Okay, so that way there is some amount of transparency involved in the process. Right now there is no transparency whatsoever in the current rules, which is why what P. Rajiv is saying, the MP is saying, is right, that these rules should be annulled, but new set of rules which have all these kinds of safeguards in place should be brought about.
Or use the rules which are already in existence.
Well, as Mr. Gupta pointed out, the government is not understanding the whole issue. So, next question is from Ritu Yadav. She wants to know, is this all halla hangama because most of the time Congress is being targeted, or does it really needs to be censored?
What we are realizing is, and this is something that I can answer, what we are realizing is that people on the net, especially in India, about 150 million people on the net using mobile or desktop internet, are the more educated lot, are the younger lot, and they are very vocal about whatever they don't like. And as I said, the government is not understanding how to contain this lot, and they're feeling that going forward, this community is going to become larger and larger with the growth of the internet, and they're just doing a lot of knee-jerk reactions.
One statistic that I heard recently is about how right now, every single day, more people log on to Facebook from India than watch any IPL match any night. Okay, so that itself tells
No,
you.
that is true, and this is the net is there. The social media, the net is probably India is the third biggest economy today, and in a few years from now, it's going to be one of the biggest in the world. So it goes without saying, I mean, that this is going to be a very powerful community of people and opinion makers, and the government is trying to, without understanding this whole medium, is trying to curtail it.
And the last question from our viewers goes to Mishi. And Mishi, this is Vidyut. He wants to know, if I have time-sensitive content, a blog post for example, how can I protect myself from being victimized? So basically he wants to know if there is some sensitive content on his social networking site. So how can he be protected?
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't understand that question. Victimized, does that mean that is there something which is defaming X person and they want it removed? There is a mechanism for that, or it's a victimization?
I think it's more to protect a person's privacy. Is if I can understand the question correctly, does this give the right? Does the freedom of speech on the internet give a right to invade a person's privacy?
There are provisions in the IT Act which exactly deal with such things also. So it's not that these rules were required to tackle problems like what Vidyut mentions to. If there is something which is objectionable or something which invades somebody's privacy is also defined to be very limited, not in terms of sexual privacy. There is definitely provision. There's law already in place which works very fast, and you can get things removed. Also, the earlier rules which we were pointing out to, which is under 69A, any person can write to a nodal officer who will then write to a joint secretary, and things can be removed within 48 hours. So to come up with these new rules to say that we need some action within 36 hours, also there's a process in those, that the maximum limit is a week's time, and it's built with safeguard. There is already in existence ways to protect a person's privacy thereby. So somehow, yes, these rules have been cast in a light that they are required to protect a person or the national integrity and sovereignty, but that happens all the time. That's how after September 11, US came up with the Patriot Act. Oh, we want to protect you, so let's just surveil all of you and make it impossible for you to live. That's what we think is happening with these rules. But for a person, rules are already there, laws are already there.
So far we have discussed whether it should be protected or not, what is objectionable, who will decide what is offensive and what is not. But now we come to the topic that what are the means that we can enhance our legal system, that we can improve the rules and regulations that are already there. So my question goes to you, Mr. Gupta. What are the means of doing it, and how can it be done? How can we improve it?
See, I think Mishi and Pranesh have mentioned this a lot. What are the solutions? So number one is that we have to understand the existing IT rules pre-2011 were sufficient enough. And if the government wanted to safe harbor the intermediaries, which is fine, they should have defined objectionable content in a right sense, created probably a dispute resolution authority, or given more powers to a group of people to understand what is objectionable and what is not. And the decision of that cannot lie with the intermediary, because in their interest they just want to take off everything. And I think enough examples are there for us to see. And a solution is that I think we need to reframe these rules and have a discussion and debate on that with the industry, with the social activists, the civil activists, with the political class. That this is the set of new rules, and this is the rewording of the rules, and that should be one way forward.
Mishi, would you like to add something?
There's this misconception that what we are doing right now with these rules is exactly what is being done either in the other Western democracies like America or Europe. And this is on the same line. That's what I've at least heard, which is absolutely untrue, because at least in the United States there are two acts which govern this. One is only dealing with copyright, which has takedown mechanism, which is criticized widely even in the US, despite the fact that it is very limited in comparison to what Indian laws are trying to do. It only deals with copyright, and you have to specify exactly what the content you're objecting to. There have to be electronic signatures, and there's also a right to put back or be heard. Like if you wrongly remove somebody's copyrighted content, it can be put back. There are other problems also. Copyright recognizes fair use.
And there's also perjury that...
Yeah, it happens all the... Yeah,
that in that system, if you make a false complaint, then you can be punished for it. Here we've made several false complaints, yet we can't be punished for it.
So that is true, and it is limited. There's Communication Decency Act also. But one things which have... Internet is a very viral mechanism. If something is put up, it goes on very quickly. It moves around very quickly. Mirror sites spring up. That is a technicality and a different world we have to live in and learn to live in. Not just try to destroy what's happening. But more than that, it's not as wide a way of censoring content as it's trying, as the attempt is here. I do appreciate the distinction between the freedom of speech and expression rights in the US or in India. Similarly, in Europe, what we are being told we are doing the same thing as everyone else is doing is incorrect and factually incorrect. Second is what Dr. Gupta pointed out. I have been insisting and saying that rules which were in existence under 69A made by the same government are very good, very exhaustive, take care of all these things and have the right principles of natural justice, which means right to be heard, safeguards that these will not be abused, these will be only rightly used. They are in line with the Constitution's guarantee of freedom of speech and expression. Everything is there. A joint secretary level person is supposed to take action on it within 48 hours. Then there's a 7-day rule in there also. Time limit can be debated, discussed with the technology companies involved. If amendment has to be made, why make it through this backdoor way? These rules, the Parliament had given this safe harbor protection. Now this has been spun on its head. Instead of giving protection, you're actually just snatching it away and giving them way more responsibility than they can handle. Also, those rules require that if you say this is infringing on my patent, then if you're very serious about thing, you will go to court and get your rights enforced. If you're not serious, then you are just making frivolous complaint. So they're pretty much sufficient. There is already this dispute resolution authority or the rules being sufficient already in existence. Maybe there is a need of discussion in terms of the categories which might have to be added, which I personally don't think, because it has a very wide category which says prevention of any cognizable offense, which means anything which is illegal is already covered there, in addition to what the Constitution says. So I don't think that is required. Due diligence is something which is already there in the IT Act. But yes, the issue never became so important or was never talked about the way it has been talked about in the past few months or the year. And it is very important that all these people are getting involved in this discussion, because more and more their lives are going to move online and they know that they need to have the freedom to speak. Everybody's been raving about this TV serial yesterday which Amir Khan came up with. If you're going to take his right to even criticize the kind of government actions which have not been taken against female infanticide, then we are just saying that so are you saying that only Amir Khan will be able to take up these issues and not the general public will be able to take these issues? Or so if he's starting and getting people involved and people are raving about it because they feel they are involved in the going of this country and how it's going to be run in future, internet is a very strong medium. And we need to respect that. So
the thing is, in no other country that I know of, at least, are there such rules in place. Because whether it's in the US, in fact, intermediaries are given protection from anything that their users post on their websites. In any other country that you take, in Europe, in Brazil, in Chile, it is very clearly mandated that you need a court order to get anything removed. And that is true about every other medium. That is true about if you want to get something removed from a newspaper. If there's something defamatory that's carried in a newspaper, you need a court order. If there's anything in a film, you need either the if you want to get a film banned, you have to go to the government or to a judiciary. Okay, for all other media, you need court orders. You need to or you need to petition the government, or you need to do what some people do, which is take a stick and go and beat the person who said something. Okay. But to actually create a separate thing, okay, which applies to all kinds of content, okay, and not just copyright content. I don't think any other country has really gone as far down this line as India has currently in this, what I hope is an experiment.
Other than Iran or China, which you'd already said.
Lastly, my question to all of you, what about freedom of speech? What about freedom of expression? Will it get violated?
And I think the request is, and I think all of our panelists have a common view on this, that there should be a healthy discussion on this in the parliament. We request our parliamentarians to discuss this, understand the implications, and if possible, see if we can, rework this with all the stakeholders together.
One thing you can specifically do, which our organizations have been doing it for some time, that on Friday the motion for annulment of these rules is going to be taken up in the Rajya Sabha, and there is a petition which will write to all your MPs directly, at least some specific, and all Rajya Sabha members. So please go to www.it2011it2011.in, or you could go to the CIS website as well, where you could find the names of your MPs. Either on this petition is being run on it2011.in. As many signatures as we can get, and then take this thing. If you really believe that these rules are going to curtail your free speech, it's going to have an adverse impact on the businesses and India's role in globalization, then please sign this petition, because the time is running out. You only have 3 days to protect these, whatever these rules are going to do. The more signatures we have, the more we can take this message to the parliamentarians. And if MPs who are going to vote on this can discuss it and also pass the annulment motion, that would be at least the first step which everyone can take towards protecting the speech. But I'll let Pranesh add to your question's answer.
No, well, I agree. I think we, as the Center for Internet and Society, have violated many people's freedom of speech already while we did this experiment in getting content removed from the internet. And I think if this isn't checked, if the Rajya Sabha, for instance, doesn't vote to annul this, and after the Rajya Sabha, this has to go to the Lok Sabha, where again this has to be done. Or the simplest option would be for the government just to realize that it has made a mistake, that it should pull these rules back, have wide-ranging consultations, which it didn't do last time, and most of the feedback it got last time, for instance, were all negative. Yet the final rules, none of that feedback was actually taken into account. So to actually hold meaningful discussions with different stakeholders and to come upon new rules, or to realize, as Mishi holds, that we don't really need new rules, that the existing rules are enough already. What we perhaps need is to make people aware about all these existing rules.
Well, just to conclude the whole discussion, I would like to add that common people of our country believe that these rules are in a way censoring the internet and are quite draconian in nature, and in some way or the other these rules are violating our freedom of speech. So these rules have to be modified. It needs to be reframed. It needs to be more transparent. That's what our panel has opined, and we also believe it. So with these words, I would like to sum up the whole discussion, and I'll take your leave for now, and we'll meet in our new episode. Till then, bye bye.